Okay, so for do now number 2, again, you're going to need your do now answer sheet for this. If angle 1 equals 4x minus 10 and angle 6 equals 2x plus 52, we want to find the measure of angle 6. So first, let's decide what type of angles angle 1 and angle 6 are. Okay, angle 1 and angle 6, again, if you cut right there and you take these angles and place them on top of these angles, angle 1 is going to land on top of angle 6, which makes them corresponding angles. And we learned in the last section that corresponding angles are congruent. So I am going to set 4x minus 10 equal to 2x plus 52. First thing I'm going to do is get rid of that 2x from the right-hand side. The opposite of a positive 2x is a negative 2x, so I'll subtract 2x from both sides. That's going to leave me with 2x minus 10, which will equal 52. And then I'll add 10 to both sides, so 2x is going to equal 62. And then lastly, I'll divide both sides by 2 to get an answer of 31. So x is 31. Again, just be careful. It didn't ask you to find out what x is. It asked you to find the measure of angle 6. So I need to take that and plug that back into 2x plus 52. So I'll have 2 times 31 plus 52. 2 times 31 is 62. And if I add 52 to that, I'm going to get a total answer of 114. So the measure of angle 6 is going to be 114 degrees. So section 2.3 is about proving lines parallel and auxiliary lines. And we're going to do something today called the converse theorem. Okay, converse basically means that what we're going to do is flip-flop exactly what we learned yesterday. So yesterday we learned if two lines are parallel, that meant that alternate interior angles were congruent, alternate exterior angles were congruent, corresponding angles were congruent, and interior angles on the same side of the transversal were supplementary. So now we're going to go the complete opposite of that. Now if I tell you that angles are congruent, that's going to mean that you can tell me that the lines are parallel. Okay, and this is the section that you're going to have the quiz after. Okay, so lines are going to be parallel if corresponding angles are congruent, or alternate interior angles are congruent, or alternate exterior angles are congruent, or same side interior angles are supplementary. Okay, so again, the number 1 down here is going to correspond to number 1 up there. So all I want to do is find 2 pairs of corresponding angles. If I find 2 pairs of corresponding angles and I can tell you that those angles are congruent, then line L is going to be parallel to line M. So it doesn't matter. Again, there's 4 different sets of corresponding angles here. It doesn't matter which pair you pick. I'm going to pick angle 5. Angle 5 in this case corresponds to angle 1. So if somehow you can tell me that angle 1 is congruent to angle 5, then I can tell you that line L is parallel to line M. Okay, for the second one, we'll do the second one down here. Alternate interior angles are congruent. So again, I'm going to pick out a pair of alternate interior angles. Get rid of those arcs. And we'll do new arcs. Again, alternate interior angles are going to be on the inside of your sandwich and on opposite sides of the transversal, 1 up, 1 down. So how about angle 3 and angle 6? So if I can somehow tell you that angle 3 is congruent to angle 6, then I'll be able to tell you that line L is parallel to line M. For our third one, this time we have alternate exterior angles. Again, that'll go down here. So if I want alternate exterior angles, again, they have to be on the outside of the sandwich, and 1 from the top, 1 from the bottom, and on opposite sides of the transversal. So maybe angle 1 and angle 8. So if I can tell you that angle 1 is somehow congruent to angle 8, then I'll be able to tell you that line L is parallel to line M. And lastly, for our last one here for 4, same side interior angles are supplementary. So this time we want to be again on the inside of the sandwich and on the same side of the transversal. So angle 4 and angle 6. So if I can somehow tell you that angle 4 plus angle 6 equals 180, then I can tell you that those 2 lines are parallel. Again, the other pair that you could have done there instead would have been 3 and 5. Okay, so which lines are parallel if angle 1 is congruent to angle 2? So if angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, And again, I'll highlight in red here what I am looking at. There's 3 lines that are coming into play here that I highlighted all in red. Again, the 2 angles that I highlighted never touch this top line, so that's why that one's not highlighted in red. So now I want to know what type of angles 1 and angle 2 are, their corresponding angles. Okay, so which lines are parallel then? This one and this one, or A and B. So A is parallel to B, and that is because corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, so what is the value of W for which line C will be parallel to line D? Okay, so if these 2 lines are going to be parallel, that means that these 2 angles are going to have to be congruent because, again, they're corresponding angles. So if they're congruent, that means they're going to be equal. So I'm going to set 3W minus 2 equal to 55. I'll add 2 to both sides, and 3W is going to equal 57. And the opposite of multiplying by 3 is to divide by 3, and W is going to equal 19. Again, if I look back at the problem, it's just asking me for the value of W. I don't have to plug anything in. I'm done. And then we have something called an auxiliary line. An auxiliary line is a line that is added to a figure to help solve the problem. It's usually parallel to other lines. So we have 2 different examples here. So all I'm going to do is draw in more lines that are going to help me find the measures of other angles here. Okay, so for example number 1, you can see here we have this line is parallel to this line. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I can't really tell you because this line in the middle makes for angle that makes up angle 1, the 2 line segments that make up angle 1, they kind of form a weird angle. They're not alternate interior angles with a specific line that's drawn, anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a 3rd line that's parallel to the other 2. Okay, and now I'm going to find out some things about this angle right here and then this angle right here. Because if I can find out those 2 angles, I can add them together and that will give me the entire measure of angle 1. Okay, so if I look at, light in pink here, this line now, and this line, and I extend this line here, that means this angle right here and this angle are alternate interior angles, and that means that they're congruent. So this pink angle right here is going to be 56. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the top, except I'm going to look different now, different pairs of lines. I'm going to look at that line, I'm going to look at that line, and I'm going to look at that line. Okay, so now when I look at angle 1 and the other angle that I know that's part of that blue picture now, the other angle that's part of that blue picture is this 144. 144 and angle 1 are on the same side of the transversal, and they're on the inside of the 2 parallel lines. So that means that those 2 angles are going to be supplementary. So I want to know what plus 144 equals 180. So if you subtract 144 from both sides, that means that this little angle right here is going to be 36. So again, if I want to know the entire measure of angle 1, then all I'm going to do is take that 56 and add the 36 to it to get the total angle. And that will give me an answer of 92. So that whole angle there is 92 degrees. Okay, so we'll do the same thing in this last example here. Again, I have a picture, I have parallel lines, but again, something wacky's going on where it's just not one transversal. I have a couple things going on here. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a 3rd line that's parallel to the other 2 lines right there. And again, we will take a look at 2 different sets of parallel lines. So let's highlight in, how about this green color? I'm going to look at this first, and I'm going to look at that there. Okay, and I am now going to find out I highlighted the wrong one. I'm sorry. Don't mind me. Do this again. Highlight the other 2 lines. Sorry. All right, so I'm going to highlight this line and this line. There we go. Okay, and I know the measure of this angle here, so I'm going to find out what the measure of this angle is right there. Okay, those two angles, if this is parallel to this, these two angles are corresponding, which means the measure of this angle is 35 degrees. Okay, now this time around, I know the entire angle here is 72. So now if I want to find this other little piece here, I'm going to take that 72 and subtract 35 from it to see what's left. That should give me an answer of 37, which means now this angle here is going to be 37. Okay, and now I'll highlight the other two parallel lines that I highlighted first by accident. So now I want to look at the purple lines. And now in relation to the purple lines, this 37 and this 2 are corresponding angles. And again, corresponding angles are congruent, which means finally the measure of your angle 2 is going to be 37 degrees.